trying my best to move around. Otherwise, I can't sit still for the life of me.
Yeah. All right, I'll intro now.
What are you talking about? That was a great introduction.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the SRC Ultimo Podcast online edition, because we are stuck in lockdown because good old Gladdy has said, yeah, no, you can't leave the house. And now this is our lives. Welcome to my room.
I just noticed you have the poster at the back. What is it? Your name?
Yeah.
I love that.
Welcome to my crib. This is my photo wall. That's very outdated and has a lot of people that I don't speak to anymore on it. This is my poster. This is my Torrens bag. This is my calendar that can only fit behind my door. And then this, I did this painting.
I have a calendar. It can only fit either there or like in there. Like
this is I made this painting in year 11. It's an appropriation painting of, I don't remember who it's by, but it's that like this is not a pipe painting by that dude that says this is not a pipe in, I think, French or whatever language it was in. So, but it's with a pipe from Mario. So haha. For those of you who don't know, we currently have a photo competition going on. It ends on the 1st of August. The description just says, using a high quality camera, we challenge you to capture up to 3 landscape images. Be creative and innovative. You must use a view of natural inland scenery to enhance the message within your image. So if that tickles your fancy,
it's going to be difficult to do during quarantine. But yeah, I reckon you could actually, a lot of phones have really, really good cameras you could just use and just give it a go.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of iPhones, they have like there's that one iPhone with like 4 cameras on it.
Yeah. It's like an iPhone like 12 Pro Max or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you got one of those, give it a go. Or just normal phones. The thing about COVID is like you're always kind of in this, it's almost like you're in this half asleep stage forever because you're not like leaving the house and going out.
Yeah, it's kind of like Groundhog Day.
It's like, it's like you're kind of like, you're used to like, all right, you get up for the day, you shower, you get dressed, and then you leave the house and you're going somewhere. And then during that time, your brain kind of like fully turns on. I don't know, maybe this is just me, but like you get used to that routine. And then suddenly you're like, nah, you're staying at home. So like your body's like, oh, so it's break time? And it's like, no, it's not break time. We still have to work. It's like, oh, we're at home and we're in our PJs all the time. It's like, you gotta make yourself a routine if you want to try. You know, being productive. Like I'm losing my mind because I haven't been able to make that routine. I've been trying, but hard to break habits and make habits. So I wake up like every day at 11 o'clock and I'm like,
and like before, like I could usually wake up like at a decent time, like naturally. Now like my alarm will go off at like 8:30 or like 9. And I snooze like maybe 15 times. I'm like, no, I can't wake up. And I don't know if I'm depressed, because it usually happens when I'm depressed, or if I'm just stuck in like a weird limbo stage where I'm like just glitching through life, because my bed is right here, like as you can see. So it's just, I wake up and then I come to my desk and then I go back to bed. Like I need to. It's like,
you're just in your room.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm very lucky. My room is massive. Like I have the biggest room in my family, my household, just because it kind of works out that way. So I actually have space, but a lot of people don't. I know we have a friend who's living in a shared house, like a shared apartment, and then they've got like just their room, and it's like, it's tough.
Yeah, I'm happy that my room is like, I think I have the biggest room out of my siblings as well. Which I'm happy about. Yeah, so sucks to suck siblings. That's horrible. Get wrecked. And like I think what has definitely helped me like being in my room is like decorating. Like I have like pictures of like stuff that I like everywhere. My mom likes coming to my room and saying like, oh, I just like coming in here and like just looking at the stuff because there's so much to look at. And I think that's why I like enjoy being in my room a lot of the time, because I put up fairy lights, I think Christmas time last year, just to like make me feel cozy and nice, because after I broke up I couldn't do anything.
Your room, you know?
Yeah. I think my room definitely reflects a lot of my personality into it. There's like drawings everywhere. There's like posters of like stuff, a lot of art stuff. But
I've got a whole wall of origami stuff that I've just stuck on there.
Yeah, I want to get back into origami. I have an origami book.
The poster up. Wait.
Oh yeah.
Here. That's the one you got me. It's on top of my bed. It's really nice. It's an actual piece of art. The only other piece of actual art that I have is like the one like that's there, which is like a bear poster. And then I have like Zelda Breath of the Wild poster up. And a map of the world.
I have a lot of places like around Sydney that I actually got from a calendar. I just like cut out the parts with the pictures on and just stuck them around my room. If anyone's watching and you feel a bit like down the dumps, do like, you know, redecorate your room. Try to like renew your surroundings because we're going to be in here for, not to be a Debbie Downer, but for a while. So, you know, do what you can to kind of make your living space.
Try reorganizing your room if you can, like move around some furniture, change the layout a little bit, just to make, for me personally, if I go too long without some change, I feel like I'm stuck and I go insane. But yeah, just while you're at home, try decorating, try cleaning up. I know it's tough. Like I needed to fold my laundry for like 3 days straight now and I haven't even done it yet. It's really hard to get yourself up and going when you're like, what's the point? I'm not leaving. Nobody's coming over. No, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I think that's the same thing with getting dressed as well. Like I do just like chill in like different pajamas and stuff. And like you want to be comfortable, but I think I need to get dressed to be productive. Like, I mean, right now I look dressed and I'm camera ready, but I'm wearing like tracksuit pants. You can't see on camera.
Yeah. I needed to put some jeans on.
I don't know. I'm okay, but like I'm not okay. Like I'm just there on like the tip of like insanity. But like
you've seen me on our Discord chats. I've gone past sanity a long time ago.
She's crazy, help me. No, I'm joking.
blink twice if you're not okay. If you've been looking at any of the Discord chats lately, you'll see, especially like the gaming society, is it called Gaming Society? The gaming ones.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of different workshops to be a part of. So don't forget to look at that stuff. We have a Adobe workshop. We've got a lot of the Adobe stuff, Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, Acrobat. And in the Gaming Society one, I think there was like, they're trying to, right now, as we're recording this, they have like a ESports thing they're opening up and there's a lot of stuff going on. So try to get yourself involved. Again, quarantine sucks ass. So getting involved in this stuff online, it's a good way to like just keep yourself going, keep yourself just a tad bit distracted, but also just be productive.
All the links to that stuff will be in the description below. There's also 3D design animation workshops, interior design workshops, and mentor sessions, game design workshops, and also fashion design workshops. So if you're interested in any of that, that will be in the link below. Or if you just want to check out on the Student Hub, everything will be there for you.
We interviewed Lissa Barnum.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. We talked about her different careers, including a lot of her social work and a lot of her experiences in life and what she's done and what she's doing. So
and kind of how she made her way into becoming a lecturer and her donkeys, which she has. So that's cool.
I love them.
So we will roll that clip now. Today we have a very special guest, Lissa Barnum. Sorry, you just said, and I just went over my head. Lissa Barnum, everyone.
Hello, how have you been, Lissa?
How is this lockdown treating you?
Well, look, we're very lucky. We live down a farm down the south coast of New South Wales. A lot of our teaching has been online, at least naturally last year. Andrew, my other half, was in Sydney this week, so it was a bit troublesome. So we got tested this morning, but we have the ability to walk outdoors, to have beautiful animals, and just for mental health purposes and everything else. So we can continue our teaching and our practice very easily around here, but pretty much everything's conducted on Zoom now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really awesome that you get to do that.
Yeah. Very, very fortunate that we're in the position that we are in. But yeah, this is our first all online podcast episode. So strap yourselves in for a wild ride.
So what's your profession at the moment, Lissa?
Okay, so other than the fact that I adore teaching, I run a social good design practice. So I have a practice called Peopleness, Social Design Action. And basically I address community issues. So my training is not only as a designer, but it's sort of based around social justice and dealing with community. So most recently, the last 2 years, we had fires down here, then we had floods, and we had COVID. So the community, and having been in Sydney for 25 years and teaching at like 3 universities, and then our daughter being born there, blah, 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 coming down here meant a whole sort of distinct set of community issues at which time, as a designer, I can work and solve. So the design practice revolves around like building frameworks, coming up with activities to draw out community issues, and also do research. So research is a big part of what I do as a designer. So it's sort of, I elicit information from elders. I work with the Indigenous. I work with homeless. So again, it's all very social justice oriented. And of course, we have the Barnum Group, which is the large umbrella of which Andrew and I do design communication as well. It's just a bit of a mix. And we're musicians and artists. Boring.
No, that's really amazing.
Like you've got your plate full.
Yeah, and look, it's really interesting when people think of us down in the farm, and it's like, oh, we want to be on a farm. But we had our daughter's probably your age. We stayed in the city. You shouldn't leave the city if you don't have to, because that's where stuff happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we moved from a place that we lived in for 25 years. We owned an old church in Erskineville.
Wow.
We bought it for absolutely nothing because they were going to knock it down. And then we stayed there for 25 years. So the move was at the right time. So it's not worth moving country or rural when you're young and vibrant and you have a lot of cool stuff, that you're able to do, and stuff that needs attending to as designers. So, but you can always come visit people that live rurally. That's all.
Yeah. I, for a small portion of my life, lived in I know this isn't my interview, but I lived in like Central Coast, and this was before I started high school, and we didn't have any really good high schools in our area, so we ended up moving back into Sydney just so I could do that, so I could continue on with my getting education and then going to university. So I didn't realize it at the time what my parents were doing, but yeah. I relate.
But you know what? I grew up in the country as well. So I was born in Mexico City, but we moved to the state of Mexico, and that's where I grew up. So I was in the country, but I did go I got on a bus for an hour and a half to go into the city to go to school.
Wow.
But yeah, and but at that age, you're not really worried about how long the bus ride takes, because that time, we stared out the window and we had stuff, and there was always stuff happening on the school bus. It wasn't like everyone's on a phone, so it was very, very different. So I totally get it. Being rural is pretty special, and I guess that's why I wanted to come back. Yeah, I wanted to come back in because I've got 2 donkeys and 2 horses.
You mentioned music. How did you kind of find your way into the music industry?
Well, I went to uni at UCLA when we left Mexico City, and I met Andrew, my other half, there. So I'll talk about Andrew in a little while. Music has always been a part of my life because I was classically trained on guitar in Mexico by a Paraguayan teacher. We all learned guitar. I always loved to sing. So when I, finished high school and then went to UCLA, it just happened that I met Andrew. He was in a band. Now he's raised in Australia, but born in the US. He's got a Kiwi mum. So he and a Kiwi friend met in Los Angeles and started a band, and then they broke up. And then Andrew asked me, he is a musician, like he writes and composes all the time. And in fact, he used to be your head of school for 6 years. So that's another story. But one day I turned around and I said, hey, do you know, I do sing and I do perform. And I started in theater arts at uni. So we just started a band there. And then a tape got back to Australia from one of his friends. And Festival Records offered us a recording contract. So that's why we ended up going back to Australia. And that was, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed to tell you. It was in 1982. You guys weren't even around. So there you go.
Yeah. Wow.
That's really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So music is a big part. And Andrew, while I got a horse for our anniversary, we bought him a beautiful new guitar. So we have a big collection of guitars. And in fact, Christine, who's part of your team, came and did a fantastic film. And that was under the tutelage of Andy Marsh as well. So, film and music and art and design, such a big part of whatever we do. Yeah.
Is there anything you miss about being in music?
The industry sucks.
Fair enough.
I was sort of the person that organized playing, live music, and just, because I'm a big organizer. I miss so I sing. Andrew writes, I don't write. And when we sing together, it's really, really lovely. But to get me to do that is not as easy as he would like it to be, because he's a composer. He's like he writes every day. So he's very dedicated. The industry is really, really under duress, always has been. And Australia does not foster its artists, even though, I listen to Triple J and, still very connected to a lot of musicians. But it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it's kind of more moved towards your hobby than your career, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, it was a career. For 13 years, we were recording artists.
Oh, wow.
You can find
Yeah, I think Christine showed us a music video or two. They look really cool.
Oh, it's pretty hilarious. But then what happened is, we became design academics, and we have uni, because it was always design by day and music by night. That's basically what it came down to. So to make a living, we were involved in as graphic designers, but then that changed a lot through starting at UTS, because we were both academics at UTS before anything. And then, what we did as a design sort of team is that I ran the design studio for UTS. And the whole thing about the New South Wales Department of Justice gave a grant to UTS Design to work on social good projects. And because I was born in Mexico, social justice is really important to me. Like, it's really part of what I am, my cultural background, my art. Like, I'm basically an artist as well. So I have an exhibition coming up next year at quite a reputable gallery. And I stopped painting for a while just to teach.
Yeah.
And hey, we both love teaching. It's, we don't particularly love the admin involved in, running schools or anything, but teaching our students is just the most valuable thing. We love it.
So have you always had a passion for teaching, or is that something that you found along the way, you found out?
I think we found it along the way because we were always practicing designers, and I grew up in a very strong art world in Mexico City. My mom was an art dealer. And so, Mexico City it's like, it has more museums per capita than any city in the world, more than Paris or anything else. So really big culture.
Beautiful culture.
The teaching came out, which happens. Yeah, we're really lucky. And it's reflected everything I do, my sense of color, semiotics, which is what I teach for Torrens, or was teaching, which is subject called message, meaning, media. So that's all about symbols and systems and totems and rituals and religions. And I mean, it's just beautiful. So the teaching just came about in the year 2001 for me. And we were going to go back to the US as designers because nothing was happening. in Australia. And then 9/11 happened. I was just offered a job at UTS, and there was no way I was going to go back to the US, even though I'm an American citizen, because my mom and dad are first generation Americans. My mom's got a German background. My dad's got a Polish background, but I have no desire ever, honestly. So, we're now, I'm an Australian now, and that beautiful cultural mix is great. But teaching just comes along when you have enough practice, and you just, I'm a very people-oriented person, so as is Andrew. So we just came about it naturally, and you just learn it as you go along, yeah? Because you got to treat your students as colleagues, and you learn a lot from them. They basically teach you more because, you're all au fait with technology and stuff is happening, and what cool movies are you watching, and what music are you listening to, and that's all reflected through your design work, yeah?
Yeah.
So
to kind of like on your timeline of the projects you've been working on for the last how many years, what would you say your favorite project has been?
Well, look, I love working with Indigenous and cultural projects. So a big part, even of my painting and my art, started with this whole thing called Osmex. So I've got and there's a lot of work involved in Australia and Mexico that are very similar. Like our totems are similar, our Indigenous culture, the love of Indigenous culture, of course, in Australia, we're not the best, but we're getting there. So my timeline, so we've always done arts and culture and music. And then we had a big sort of foray into financial products. So we did a lot of annual reports when when they were actually in print. We worked for a lot of financial institutions, which largely got us paid well, and we were able to buy a house and everything. This was back in the 90s, but I still wanted to paint, so that was sort of what we did. Then teaching doesn't pay you what a corporate client pays you, and it just didn't matter to us. So I wanted to concentrate on cultural projects. So I would say that my favorite ones would be the Indigenous ones, the Indigenous Literacy Foundation. At the moment, I'm building a heritage program with Indigenous and non-Indigenous to come up with an idea on country, and that they both actually use film and design and words and music to impart their understanding of what country means today. So that's sort of, in terms of products and services. But then I also work with seniors in the area and have collect stories of people in the region so that they know each other better, and then they get to share stuff. Yeah, so I would say, and youth. Youth to me are the best. I've designed a product, actually myself, Andrew, and a couple of UTS students initially did a product called Tool Kick, which was to help young, youth and risk, kids at risk come up with really cool ideas for passion businesses. So I also have an MBA, so that allowed me to actually try and make a really cool product that everyone can understand, and they can start a business if they don't want to go to school necessarily and fill the cookie cutter sort of situation. And again, kids living on the street, just try and get them. So that would be my most sort of selection of products: my youth, my Indigenous, and working with seniors. We always teach, at least my designers, and I've taught undergrad, and at the moment I only teach postgraduate students, so it's a little bit different. But it's not, because we need to remind ourselves as designers that we're designing for others. Yeah. We don't design for ourselves. Naturally, we have ourselves in the product, we venture into that, but heart and head, that, it's the things of heart, head, and hand. But to me, heart, and hence naming my little social enterprise, Peopleness Social Design Action, is really important. I'm a very people-oriented person. So you have to be vested in it, because it's tough. You see a lot of people that are at odds. You see a lot of pain. You see a lot of trauma, especially through our Indigenous. And so since living down the South Coast, which has only been like, maybe we've owned the house for 6 years. So we sold up in Erskineville and came here, but we were still going back to Sydney to teach face to face. So we've only been home maybe 2 years. And I'm not going back to teach I will only teach online because now I've got too many animals and someone's got to stay home and look after them. But trauma is a very, very big issue here because, people lost their homes. The fire was really dreadful. And we have the investiture in where we live is tourism. It's a very beautiful part of the world. And we have a lot of youth that are unemployed. So it's about making an investment in your community. Yeah. So you have to have heart.
You've done so many different things, but would you say that this would be your dream career, or is there something else that you wished you kind of pursued along the way?
No, I think I'm pretty happy because I was fortunate enough to be brought up in a country that was very, very, very strong in the visual arts, and I've ended up in the right place. I don't feel that I've had to give up anything. The music career was really tough because in the 80s we actually, we had our pop star moments, and I wasn't actually very comfortable with that. I've always sort of been a reluctant person that way, but that took a real big hit. That was really hard because we were moving along and performance is really wonderful. And I was performance was a big part of what I learned in high school and blah, blah, blah. But what happens is that you use your skills and you bring those to, for instance, lecturing. You stand up there and it's a type of performance, and you need the stamina. But there's also that much more lovely connection with other people that you get to have when you're teaching. So I think I totally landed in the right place. I look back and everything that I wished for has actually happened. I wanted to have go back to the land. I wanted to own animals, and I wanted to continue to practice, and I wanted to help people. So I feel really I feel fortunate. I know that my other half, Andrew, is such an amazing writer and composer that his career, he should have much more focus, and it's just a problem with the industry. So he started a PhD that dealt with how difficult it is in Australia to be an artist. And so what's difficult is so many people leave Australia, really strong, wonderful artists, because we don't actually cherish or motivate. We should have 75% of Australian content going out visually, musically, instead of importing stuff all the time, and then 25%, just like other countries.
Yeah.
So Lissa, you seem like a very not exactly go with the flow kind of person, but like
you're willing to take on opportunities. Yeah.
The world of design, you are right. This is what happens. And when I say design, is that I've taught architects, industrial designers, interior designers, communication design, like heaps, different streams. One must remain flexible. You've got to be flexible when you're a designer, because you'll have a client that'll suddenly say they want to make a U-turn, and you just go, oh my God, this is, really. And, we take, so that flexibility, and also when you're dealing with live situations and real people, their lives change, things just happen. And you just have to, you can't be stuck to your guns completely, because clients will always, they have to be taught by us as designers, the design process, but as designers, we equally have to be super flexible. We need to be able to make U-turns if we need to. So it's not so much going with the flow, but it's just responding to change, and the change is okay.
Yeah.
And that's really a hard thing when, when there's danger afoot, like, look, this weekend, Andrew and I, we've been married 40 years, okay? So I met him when I was 19. We had a 40th anniversary. Christine was going to come down. I mean, I invited all my people, all my friends, it was going to be great. They all organized. And then at the last minute, it's like, hello, no one's coming. So I had all this food, all this stuff to drink, a guy with a rig to come and play. Was just wonderful. And of course I was oh, I was upset. But you know what? Honestly, you just have to let it go. I mean, that's a really silly example. I should give you a professional example. But professionally, any client, especially if a design goes to a committee or a board of directors, or there will always be changes. They'll always come back to you and say, can I have a bit of this and a bit of that with a little bit of this? And you got to be prepared to do it because you're getting paid. That's your service, you know?
Yeah.
So it is sort of go with the flow, but it's part of our skill set. We have to be responsive to change. So what normally happens, and this goes for all of us, when a client doesn't give you an exact brief, you get to play. So you find 5 different ways of stuff that you want to do, five different executions. It sounds like a lot, but you normally go with a client with 3 programs. But when it's a mate or a friend, and I always say, look, don't take this the wrong way, but they'll always take advantage of the situation. I always say, if family or friends, unless you're going to get something out of it without it driving you mad, go in with 5 different goes, just 5 different things, and then go in and start to negotiate, meaning let them fall in love with one direction or 2. And that is when they can go, I love this and I love this. Can we combine the 2? And then as designers, we're problem solvers any way we look at it. So don't be afraid. And you might come up with a total different combination. And it's also the co-design project, like work on it together, but don't be afraid to try 5 totally different things. Just play and then present it and start working on it together. And then you'll feel much better. You can never go to a client with one solution. Otherwise you'll lose the job. If they hate it, they'll go, well, sorry, not interested.
Yeah.
So give them and this is when they don't give you a brief, but hypothetically, if they do give you a brief and it's, you got your way, you can still do 5 different options and have them look at it. So Andrew and I as designers, he and I are like chalk and cheese. Andrew was my mentor. Okay. He's older. He went to RMIT. Then I met him in the US and, he was already an art director. He was bloody good. I was at UCLA studying humanities, communication, and arts, very, very different. So if we pitched a client, we would both go in totally different. And, he had studied graphic design. So he was technically and creatively, as a creative director, he was just wonderful. While I was much more a risk taker and much more the art side. So a lot of the time, if we would go and pitch together, most of the time his stuff was selected because he knew, okay, and this was my learning from him. So, but often I got my stuff selected for totally different reasons. But the idea is you go in with enough options so you win the job. But of course, you're doing this for a friend. So just don't let them drive you nuts going, no, I don't.
Yeah.
So negotiate together, build it together, but start off by giving a couple of options so that you don't go like round the bend, like, oh my God, I don't know what you want. And then from your creativity, your ideation, something will come out that will spur your client along and go, wow, this is so cool. Because what happens with us is they come to us because they want you can open a window for your clients. That's the main thing. Yeah. Even though I had a client recently that it's a community thing and they wanted a hand. And I went, oh my God, and I was doing it for free. And I said, no, I'm not going to do a hand. There are 3 million hands if you go on Google, community, everyone's hand. And I went, no, not doing it. So I pawned it off to one of my ex-students at Billy Blue. And she came up with the most beautiful hand and so cool. And I was so proud of her. And she's a professional now. She's not, a student. But I knew that there was no way I was going to, because to me, that's a cliche. I hate cliches. I want always my students, young designers to go differently. But the client wanted a hand, and that's that. So you got to give them a hand. I just wasn't prepared to do that at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
with all the a million things that you do, how do you kind of stay on top of everything and your organization and inspiration and motivation and all of that stuff?
Well, I can't stay still for very long. So I love the fact that I can actually, like right now I'm painting. This is the studio where I paint and where Andrew paints, and he's got all his guitars. I'll show you. He's got
oh.
Yeah. And that's me doing some painting for an exhibition in a year's time.
Oh, this is so beautiful.
My daughter went to National Art School, like so many, the room is a mess. Like there's stuff everywhere. Yeah, musical instruments and stuff. And then the rest of the house, that's where we do design, because obviously we have our software. So I can work for a little bit, and then I've got to go do laundry or go hang up the laundry, or one of my donkeys will bray and I'm going to go feed the donkey, or I've got to go into town again. I'm incapable of sitting. Like Andrew can sit and do, InDesign and Illustrator like for hours. I'm like, no way, I can't do it. So it suits me to be multitasked because I don't sit for too long doing one thing only.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. Do you do most of your work through your organization?
I've got a couple of things going on. So this is what happens. And when you guys start to build your, register your ABNs and you're doing your stuff, we have a main, you guys could go see it. It's called the Barnum Group, is our website, the Barnum Group. You'll see it. And in there's all our stuff. There's our music, there's Peopleness. And then I have another concern called the Good Shed Learning. And the Good Shed Learning is a space where we offer that youth program I was telling you. So in it, we use art, culture, history, music to motivate people into building their own ideas and own businesses. So our organization we're basically 2 people, but I've got varied colleagues that I work with in the area. So what happens is, how you build a design team? I build a team of other professionals to address one particular area. For instance, when you're working with the Indigenous, you have to go find a couple of a couple of elders to work with. So you build a team of professionals under like an organization, but you're basically building a group of people that are, really skilled in a specific area that will help translate a lot of that information in community works. So if I was working with seniors, you need to find a couple of seniors that will also be advocates for you. So that's the point of difference. So even when I do internships with students and they think they're going to rock up into this really cool studio with a lot happening, it's basically us 2, but we build teams of 10 or 12 or 3. And that's how and it also has a lot to do with budgets. And it also has to do with any resources that particular client or that contingent has. So a lot of what I've been doing the last couple of years is getting grants, and they're really difficult to get. So I've been working a lot pro bono. But I don't care, because I've met so many cool people. And I feel that I'm investing in learning about my community, because Indigenous in Sydney are totally different to Indigenous here. Yeah. Homelessness in Sydney is totally different to homelessness here. So yeah. So my organization is, it's a proprietary limited, and it houses 2 other programs, Peopleness and the Good Shed Learning. So if you wanted to do some looky-see after your podcast and just see to whom you've been speaking, you'll get a really good picture, and also helps you guys structure your businesses eventually, because you don't need heaps of people. You need very little infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good because it's really colorful. It's really varied. There's all, I say to my students, one really important thing is, I say, do not turn your back on your culture. Do not turn your back on your family. Do not turn your back on your clubs, on your churches, on your sports, on your clubs. That is who you are as designers. So don't turn, for a very long time, our parents had to be, put into a country that generally you weren't supposed to be, you were supposed to be, speaking in English, you had to be Anglo-Saxon and we're very fortunate, again, as designers, that we're a mix, and we can do, and that has to be enhanced, because this is really who we are as Australians. So I forgot the point I was making. Yeah. So when you go to our websites, you will see there's generally a beautiful mix. And luckily, that's the other thing that happens in design. You get to meet all sorts, and we're, pretty cohesive. And we love the different colors of whom we are. And thank God, it's very, very important.
But yeah, back to what you were saying about people kind of, I guess running away from their roots, I find a bit disheartening because, you know, that version or the person that you are and your background and your heritage and all of that, that is unique to you. And that's, you know, something that can't be replicated by anyone else or anything else. And I find it really sad when people try to kind of pretend to be something else and kind of hide away from their roots. And I'm guilty of that. I think when I was younger, I didn't like that I was South African and that, you know, my skin was darker than everyone else and blah, 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 and all these other things. And now I'm like, no, I like that. You know, I have a really like rich heritage and, you know, amazing culture and stuff like that. And yeah, I think especially with the younger generation as well, I'm like, don't pretend to be something else, like own who you are because it's amazing. And, you know, there's no one else like that in the world except you. And, you know, you need to own that.
Lissa, you work with a lot of people, so you probably get to experience a lot of different perspectives. And I'm sure throughout your careers and even for the future, you'll find you'll continue to learn and discover new things and grow as a person.
Working with people. Part of your practice as designers is working with people. I know a lot of the time we're insular if we have, you know, pre-production and post-production and we're behind our computers and you're sitting there editing and, you know, I know from what I get, Aisha, you're doing game design. Coco, you're communication designer primarily. Is that what you're doing?
Graphic design currently, but I will go into communication design next year.
Okay, so that's my background, and I would love to teach you because you know, but I don't know. The school didn't give me just whinge. I didn't get any subjects this session, and that's because I wanted to stay online. But I taught online, so I just, you know, I'll keep my fingers crossed. So each of you, you know, people are your clients. People are the things you're reflecting. People are the things that you are working into your logos or your game. You are reflecting human aspects, human experience, human culture. We forget that, you know, we're not robots. So, and that will endear your clients, you know. I was going to say, we buy dog food because we're the humans and we buy it for our dogs because we love our dogs. The dogs are not buying the dog food. Humans are buying the dog food. I mean, the analogy is the humans make decisions. Obviously, if your puppy doesn't like the food you bring home, that's a different story. But I just always say, you need to take the ego away for a lot of our designers. And it's really difficult to do that because we're finding our space. You're each finding your voice. You're finding the way you want to execute your concepts or whatever. But in the mix, and this is for you, Coco, what I was saying, when a friend wants you to do something, bring them into the mix. Yeah. And then it's that collaboration. And we must always listen to others to better execute. It doesn't mean that we can't teach them and guide them because people don't understand when you say you're a designer, they think you're just doing like interior design or something. You know, they have no idea. They have no idea. They think it's, you know, we're always doing pretty things and instead of actually problem solving. And problem solving can also be like people freak out, oh, you're a problem solver. Like I've been to workshops lately that taught me not to solve, not to go, because that's just the way my mind works, right? I just go right to it. So what we try and tell designers is from point A to point B, stop the process. It's messy. It goes like this and like this and like this. So from point A to point B, don't just stop yourselves, reflect on the process. Think about that beautiful space between A and B instead of just going and problem solving. And that's what design thinking teaches you, you know? You actually have to listen, and then work on something together. You client and designer, yeah. The face-to-face thing has been a big change for me. Like, oh my God, because I've done it for 20 years and I love my students. But a lot of my students, dare I say, have become my friends and they've become professionals and we're still in touch. So if there are particular teachers and tutors that you have, we love you guys. You know, you need to know that there's great affection, and we just love to see what happens and what you do. And I hope you all also feel that you can always ask one of them if you feel like. I always say to my students, if you need to ask me anything, write to me. If there's a client asking you like, how much does something cost? I'm always there. Like, you know, and this is the beauty of all your lectures. We genuinely love what we do. Yeah.
I think we'll go into our quick fire questions.
Oh, this is really exciting. I'm really excited about this. I went all the fiery questions.
I don't know if you can relate to this, but what's your biggest typography pet peeve?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. That's tough. Well, that's an impossible question. I recognize that it doesn't look right, okay? I am not a type nerd, but I certainly get cranky when, the wrong typefaces are mixed or whatever. Obviously, yeah. And I'm a lover of sans serif. So
a woman of my heart.
So and of course with typography, understanding that some students they're scared. They don't use it. They don't know, and they fundamentally have to know that they're just symbols, and there's an orchestration to them, and they're quite. So I guess with typographic situations, rag right, justified type that has holes, justified left and right, so that's it. I just find holes and stuff. You see, I'll just tell you really quickly, for a very long time, if you did any, leading, sort of, it was just nuts. And typefaces went, and the size went down to 6 point, at one point,
yeah,
there's just been 11 point. Now it's gone down and it's delicate and stuff like that. So, and especially if you're doing any print, and the little booklets have gone down to like really small sizes, and you can still fit everything in.
Yeah.
So for us, it's been a beautiful change. But someone like David Carson is still special to me, because he's, you can still use the sans serif, and you can still mess it up. I love experimental. That's my thing. And beautiful editorial design. Okay, you asked me for pet peeve. I'll give you one right now. Helvetica New Light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a pet peeve because students tend to use it as text font. Text. It was designed for headline font. So this really light, little brittle, pretty twee is like, oh my God, I always say to my students, don't even go there. They love to use it. It's not good. Yeah, okay, pet peeve, had to find it. There we go.
Anyway, what would you say, for as comfortable as you want to share it, what would be your biggest fear?
My biggest fear, I don't know, as a designer, that's a tough one. The people stop communicating. That's my biggest fear. So when I see even social media right now, that's like a whole really cool space for communication.
Yeah.
And even it's different. Like, look, our daughter is going to turn 27, and she's big on social media, has a huge TikTok following. But I love, so how does one communicate ideas to others? How does one, reach out to others? And so my biggest fear is that communication ceases. That would be my biggest. So for me, the exploration of all these other platforms is really cool, as long as we use it for good and not for evil. And we know lots of people use it for evil. In Australia, we have a democratic sort of opportunity to explain and explore a lot of situations in politics. Like, we saw just the rudest cartoon the other day on Barnaby Joyce, who's just gone back to the Nationals. And Andrew and I watched the show called The Insiders, which is on ABC, and they pull out all these cartoons that have made it through the week. For us to be able to express ourselves as Australians is very important. So the other fear is we must not lose our ability to communicate what we feel, what we think, because then it would not be a democracy. And I tell you, the United States, by having that horrible man run the country for 4 years, that deterioration of democracy is one of the worst. The fear is not, let us not change. Let us remain as Australians to be able to be diverse, to be able to communicate through comedy, illustration, instruction, through podcasts, through just, we must not lose that. So that would be my biggest fear, that get diluted.
We'll do a few more before we wrap up. If you could meet anyone from history, living or dead, who would you want to meet?
Oh, look, I think Louis XIV, because I love Versailles, and I love France. And my daughter learned French at the international school. And it's a wonderful part of history that ended up being, I'm not saying that I'd want to be party to what happened with the eventual process of French literature, but I think to me that time was super, super interesting. So historically, and I love history. I love Russian history as well, Catherine the Great. I think that's it. But most importantly, as well as I love the musicians of the Baroque. I just think that's just super nice. So I'd be very happy with that.
What would you say is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten from somebody else?
Look, I would say my father who's really, really wise, and he gives me advice with some regularity. And I just can't even think what specific advice he's given me, because I speak to my dad every Sunday. Again, he's 94, he's in San Diego. Everyone left Mexico City after, a couple of really tough years. I can't pick one particular thing, except possibly what I said a little bit earlier, which is don't go putting your eggs in one basket, So when I even said to you, Coco, is go in with a couple of options so that you win one of the options. And, it's the same thing with bloody COVID and Scott Morrison only buying the one thing, you put all, and because I also have a business degree and I teach students how to build social enterprises, and this is in a lot of my master students, is always have a contingency plan. So that would probably be my best piece of advice. And that would probably have been given to me by my dad. Yeah.
If you could change a stigma about the world, what would it be?
Well, I find I would change ignorance.
Oh, so ignorance. Much. I felt that in my soul.
Ignorance covers everything. It covers not understanding different religions, not understanding different, sexual proclivities, not understanding a piece of communication, so to me, it's all about ignorance. It's not that people are mean or horrible. They're just ignorant. So that would be my biggest thing.
They just don't know. They don't understand.
So we have to guide them. And through design, we can do that. Yeah, we can teach through design. We can.
That's a very big goal in my game design career. Is part of something that I've said to my brother a little while back was that my goal when making games is I'm a very story-orientated person, and part of what I want to do is basically pop people's metaphorical bubble of what they understand of the world and question what they believe in and question what they understand and give them more. So with a lot of the games I make, they're very story-orientated, character-orientated, and bringing as much culture as I can into a game, and being very authentic with it as well. That's a humongous thing for me.
Yeah, and story is a beautiful way. You see, I'm a narrative painter, so I'm going to just show you one piece. This is not finished, okay, but I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
But what it is a story of how my two donkeys saved me from being completely devastated and fear of the fire, because the fire, there was this one fire called the Karawan, and it just came right behind our house, and the wind changed. Yeah. Our house was saved, but the fact that I couldn't release my donkeys, I opened my gates, but they could only go so far, and I was just hoping, if my house burns down, it's okay. I mean, it isn't, but it is. But your animals, you think, oh my God. So the narrative, the story, and many of us as design teachers teach that story is a way to engage people because it's a very human way to do it. So Aisha, that is super good. So when my daughter was 2, there was this one story that there's this beautiful African boy, and it could have been any, Africa has like 55 countries. So maybe I'm wrong, Coco, but I think that's how many countries there are in the continent. And there's this beautiful boy, and he has to travel up a river, and he has all these things that come up that might, sink his little boat. or there's an animal that wants to befriend him, or he has to find food. And this is terrible because we did put her in front of it at age 2. She's now 27, if that did anything. But she was playing and navigating the space, and it teaches you things in its story, and you feel, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
All of my students, regardless what I teach them, I said the story, even if you have a piece of print, it's a story. Everything is story oriented. So good on you, girl, because that is what teaches, and it just humanizes everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been a really good experience.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here and talking with us. This has been an amazing interview. I'm very happy that you were here for it.
Yeah, I've learned so much in the last hour that I feel so motivated to go and create.
I thank Christine and for the SRC for asking me, because I've been devoted to the school. It's changed hands so many times. And we still have a lot of the same teachers and lecturers. And again, a lot of them are our friends. They know Andrew and I really well. And I hope the school retains me, because as I said, this year was really hard. Well, this session, I actually didn't get asked to teach. And while the cohort of management, a lot of the people that are running the design school are absolutely lovely, it is the students. It is you guys that actually make it all happen. Yeah.
Any links to what Lissa has mentioned throughout this podcast will hopefully be in the description below.
Yeah.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of day. Rest of day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for joining us.
All the best.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Awesome. I really enjoyed that conversation with Lissa. She's really experienced. She really knows what she's doing. And I'm really happy that I got to talk to her, because she was like, wow, she's really cool. She's really, really cool.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot from speaking to her. She also gave me some life advice, which I think at the time I really needed. But yeah, she's such an incredible woman, and I really hope that we can meet her in real life.
Don't forget that we have a suggestion box in the SRC. Actually, it doesn't make any sense now because we're at home. Don't forget.
But if you do have any suggestions, you can send it to our Instagram at SRC Ultimo, over here, and underneath my painting.
It's one thing.
Yes, it's just at SRC Ultimo. And if you like the content that we're making here, please give the video a like if you want to. I don't know what that does, but if you can do that, then that'd be great. And you can also check us out on Twitch, on our YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, and iHeartRadio.
And Spotify.
Can't believe I forgot that one. Check us out on Spotify.
So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.